James, there is dignity in all work. It's not the kind of work you do that gives you dignity, it's how well you do it. And when I was a maid, forgive me. James!
What you doing here, woman? I thought you were supposed to be going to church.
Well, I was, but the Lord...
The secrets of the series that marked generations are about to be revealed. Get ready for a journey through time. Did you know that each episode of Good Times cost a fortune for its time? In 1974, when the series premiered, CBS was betting big on a black family from Chicago's suburbs, something revolutionary for American television. What few people know is that this gamble cost millions and almost never happened. Today, we're going to reveal the financial backstage that nobody told you about one of the most important series in television history. Good Times wasn't just a sitcom. It was a cultural phenomenon that forever changed how black families were portrayed on American television. Premiering in February 1974 as a spin-off of Maude, the series quickly won the hearts of audiences with the Evans, a hard-working family struggling to survive in the Cabrini Green housing project in Chicago. CBS, which had already experienced success with All in the Family, was willing to bet on content that reflected American social reality, even if it meant addressing issues like poverty, racism, and social inequality. Initial sponsors included major brands such as Procter & Gamble, General Foods, and McDonald's, who saw in the series an opportunity to reach the growing African-American consumer market, estimated at billions of dollars at the time. But what really differentiated Good Times was its authenticity. The series didn't just show a black family on TV, it showed the real challenges faced by the African-American community in the 70s. And that, my friends, had a price few imagined. When Good Times went into production in 1973, CBS allocated an initial budget of approximately $120,000 per episode, a value that seems modest today, but in 1974, dollars would be equivalent to about $700,000 in current values. And that was just the beginning. As the series gained popularity, costs skyrocketed. By the third season, each episode cost an average of $185,000 to produce. The main set of the Evans apartment, although it seemed simple, required an investment of almost $75,000 to be built at CBS Studios in Hollywood, with meticulous details to recreate the authenticity of an apartment in a Chicago housing project. The 6 seasons of Good Times totaled 133 episodes, with a total estimated cost of more than $22 million, a colossal investment for the time, and it doesn't stop there. CBS executives almost cancelled the series after the second season due to rising production costs. It was only the strong public reaction and solid ratings that convinced the network to continue investing. But the real surprise came when we discovered the behind-the-scenes of the recordings. The series was filmed using the expensive multiple camera system, which required more equipment, more technicians, and consequently more money. Each day of filming cost approximately $30,000. And that's without counting the additional costs when scenes needed to be redone or when technical problems occurred. This is where things get really interesting. When Good Times began, Esther, Rolle, who played matriarch Florida Evans, received about $5,000 per episode. John Amos, as Father James Evans, started earning approximately $3,500 per episode. Considerable values for the time, but nothing compared to what would come later. The real financial earthquake happened with Jimmie Walker, who played the charismatic J.J. Evans. His catchphrase, Dy-no-mite, became so popular that around the third season, Walker managed to renegotiate his contract for an impressive $7,000 per episode, more than the original stars of the series. This created tensions behind the scenes. with Esther Rolle and John Amos expressing concerns about the direction of the series and the stereotype that JJ's character might be perpetuating. These salary tensions culminated in John Amos's departure. After the third season, when producers refused to meet his demands for a higher salary and more creative control over his character. The actor wanted to earn at least $10,000 per episode, a value that production considered excessive at the time. In today's dollars, we're talking about approximately $58,000 per episode. Supporting actors like Bernadette Stanis, Thelma, Ralph Carter, Michael, and Jeanette Dubois, Willona, started receiving between $1,500 and $2,500 per episode, values that increased as the series' popularity grew, but never reached the levels of the main stars. When Janet Jackson joined the cast in the final seasons as Penny, she received approximately $3,000 per episode, a considerable amount for such a young actress, but one that reflected both her talent and the Jackson surname, already famous in the entertainment industry. In addition to the actors' salaries, there were costs associated with the technical and production team. The series' showrunner, Norman Lear, was already an established name in American television and commanded a team of writers whose salaries totaled about $25,000 per episode. The cinematographer received approximately $4,000 per episode, while the director received around $8,000. The scenography, costume, makeup, and special effects teams represented an additional cost of approximately $15,000 per episode. And we can't forget the costs of music and copyrights. The iconic theme song of Good Times, composed by Dave Grusin with lyrics by Alan and Marilyn Bergman, initially cost CBS about $12,000 in licensing. Subsequently, with each new season, the network needed to pay additional fees to continue using the music. To understand the true financial impact of Good Times, we need to compare it with other series of the time. All in the Family, CBS's big hit, had an average budget of $200,000 per episode. The Jeffersons, another successful spin-off, cost about $175,000 per episode. Meanwhile, ABC's Happy Days cost approximately $190,000 per episode during its peak. What makes the investment in Good Times even more remarkable is that the series was considered a risky experiment by CBS executives. Many doubted that a series centered on a low-income black family could attract heavyweight advertisers or mainstream audiences. The success of Good Times not only proved these executives wrong, but also paved the way for other series with black protagonists. From a return on investment perspective, Good Times was an extraordinarily successful bet. During its peak, the series regularly reached more than 25 million viewers per episode and generated approximately $300,000 in advertising revenue per episode, a significant return on the original investment. Additionally, the series generated substantial revenue from merchandising, including T-shirts with the famous Dy-no-mite, toys, board games, and even a line of food products. It is estimated that merchandising alone generated more than $5 million additional during the original airing of the series. When Good Times went into syndication after its finale in 1979, CBS sold the rerun rights for approximately $40 million, almost double the total production cost of the series, and that's without counting the ongoing profits from DVDs, streaming, and international licensing that continue to generate revenue to this day, almost 5 decades later. Another interesting financial aspect is the impact that Good Times had on the careers of its actors. Jimmie Walker, for example, managed to leverage his fame as JJ for a quite lucrative stand-up comedy career touring the United States and earning between $15,000 and $25,000 per performance in the years following the end of the series. Janet Jackson, of course, became a global superstar with a music career that generated billions of dollars, something that was certainly boosted by her initial exposure on Good Times. Even actors who had less spectacular careers after the series, such as Esther and John Amos, secured recurring roles in other productions, partly due to the visibility they gained from Good Times. But perhaps the greatest financial return came from the series' enduring cultural influence. Good Times opened doors for other sitcoms with predominantly black casts, such as The Jeffersons, 227, The Cosby Show, and more recently, Blackish and Atlanta. Each of these productions generated hundreds of millions in revenue, creating an entire television market that can, in part, be attributed to the pioneering success of Good Times. The impact of the series was so significant that even decades after its conclusion, it continues to generate discussions and academic analyses. Universities like UCLA and Howard offer courses that study the cultural impact of Good Times and other pioneering black sitcoms, further solidifying the series' legacy and, indirectly, increasing its value as intellectual property. And we cannot ignore the financial challenges faced during the production of the series. CBS faced criticism from conservative groups that threatened to boycott their advertisers' products due to the social themes addressed in Good Times. This forced the network to invest in public relations and campaigns to keep advertisers on board, an additional cost that is rarely mentioned in discussions about the series' budget. Another interesting financial aspect was the decision to set the series in Chicago, but film it entirely in Los Angeles. This saved money in terms of logistics, but required additional investments to recreate convincing external Chicago settings. The team even traveled to Chicago a few times to capture images of the city that would be used as establishing shots, with each trip costing approximately $20,000, a considerable amount for the time. Looking back, Good Times was much more than a financial investment for CBS. It was a cultural investment that continues to pay dividends to this day. The series not only paved the way for more authentic representations of black families on television, but also proved that telling diverse stories was not just socially important, it was commercially viable. When we think of that Evans family struggling to survive, but always maintaining their dignity and sense of humor, we are not just remembering TV characters. We are remembering people who seemed real, who faced real challenges, and who taught us valuable lessons about resilience, family, and hope. So, the next time you watch an episode of Good Times and hear that iconic Dy-no-mite, remember, behind those laughs was a multi-million-dollar investment that forever changed the landscape of American television. And perhaps most importantly, it proved that authentic stories about marginalized communities not only deserve to be told, they can be extremely profitable. And you, what is your favorite memory of Good Times? Do you think the series was worth every penny invested? Leave your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to share this video with other fans who also love discovering the secrets behind the series that marked our history.